Good morning, all. Today we are going to discuss about one of the important question of methods of interview. So the methods of interview it can be focused on in some sub points. So on this basis of how many interviews are included in interview. So interview methods in can be following this. So in first one, focus group. So one popular research interview method is conducting a focus group interview. So it is also in focus group. It can be in focus on the in a group of members. So which involves a group individuals and interview at the same time. So it can be participated in the group of individuals. So focus group in a moderators usually encourages participants to interact with one other. So it can be encourage and participate and interact to the one to another. So observe the group to again the insights in real attitude and perspective. So it can be in a group. It can be in discuss about the. It can be in real attitude and perspective also. So the group participants will respond more in comfortability and naturally. So it can be in focus on the comfortability and respond in truly. So as in group setting can feel more in a authentic and other interview settings. So it can be setting to the in feel to the in more. So it can be involved to the in focus group. So next one, structured interview. The structured interview or another option. So it's also another option to the structured interview. So typically in the structured interviews comprise closed-ended questions. So it can be involved with the closed-ended questions. So which are the questions that response can answer yes or no. So in this closed-ended questions, it can be like a objective type. So yes or no option. So it can be like say the answer. So the interviewer in usually asks the in exact in same questions and same order to in each interview. So in this interview, it can be asked to the in exactly in same questions and same order, and it can be in each interview. So often researchers can complete the structured interviews in quickly, and they follow the standard format that they can easily participate. So replay. So in this in structured interviews, it can be quickly answered. So like in say or like a in a say the in a yes or no option. So it can be follow a in a quickly in format also. It can be in easily. So next one, unstructured interviews. So unstructured interviews also called the in information interview is that in a opposite of in structured interview. Like the in structured interview, it can be too difficult to the in unstructured interviews. So in unstructured interviews, the interview does not ask the standardized questions. So each interview instead, so unstructured interviews in really open-ended questions. So which are in question that encourage in longer answer that line simply yes or no. So in this in a unstructured interviews like the in a each question of in each interview instead. So it can be instead of the in interview. So it in this interviews in really on open-ended questions like the open-ended questions type. So which are the in question that encourage in longer answer. So it can be longer answer that then simple yes or no. So it is also in unstructured interviews. So unstructured interviews, the interviewer can also in follow up the questions and allow interviews and expand their answers. So in this unstructured interviews, it can also the follow the questions and expand their answers also. Therefore, an unstructured interviews is more similar to the in an authentic conversation. So it is also in similar to the in conversation between the authentication of the in a conversation. So it is also unstructured interviews. Next one, semi-structured interview. You can also use a semi-structured interview method, which combines the pieces of in both structured and unstructured interviews, like the structured and unstructured interviews. Like the in a questions, it can be in a say the answer in yes or no, and it can be in longer answers also, in both in objective type and long answers also. At all through interview might follow then general plans and set of questions. So it is also in set of questions and plans also there. So they often have the flexibility to make the changes. So this can allow the interviews to be create order and get data and need there in research. So it can be allow the interviews, it can be create the in order and data, and it can be need to the in research also. So it is also in semi-structured questions. So next one, personal interview. The personal interview takes place in persons as one-on-one interview. So in personal interview, like the in a one interview to the in one person. So between an interview and interviewee, so it can be interviewer and interview. So the personal interviews are ideal if you want to speak in directly and individual and cater your questions to them. So, in this in personal interview, it can be in a you want to speak the indirectly, and it can be in a interview. In a interview, it can be in a question also. Then, so. Uh, the personal interview, or it can be follow-up questions to again in additional insights. So in other questions also it can be in additional insight. So usually in personal interviews have uh, higher response rates than other interview options. So in this personal interview, it can be response in a high, it can be in a compared to the in other interviews. So making them in a ideal if you need to in gather a significant amount of inaccurate data. So in this personal interview, it can be in gather to the in a correct or accurate the amount of data also. So next one, phone interview. So you can also conduct the interviews over the in phone. So in this interviews also it can be conducted the in phone. So phone interviews can be an easily way to gather responses. So it is also in this interviews easily and gather to the in response also. This interview methods are also in relatively inexpensive, making idea if you wanted to collect it quickly without expanding too many resources. So in these interviews, it can be in quickly respond and collect the data and without expanding to the resources also. So these points are involved to the in interview methods. Thank you.